Welcome to the best outside of Hollywood for March 2019. For those new, this is a film recommendation series where each month I discuss a bunch of great films made outside of major Hollywood studios. So let's get right into it. Starting with one of my personal favourite zombie films, Train to Busan. This is a Korean film directed by Young Sung-ho about this viral outbreak that has occurred, and we see this from the perspective of this group of people stranded on a train. This really tight and confined setting leads to some really effective tenseful moments, and a great set of fight scenes that are all incredibly well shot. The film does take itself a little too seriously at points, with some scenes relying strongly on you requiring to have some sort of emotional connection towards its overall moral in order to find it effective. There is also a few plot holes here and there, especially towards the end, but it's still a lot better than most other films of its kind. You'll definitely notice its flaws. It's not a perfect film by any means, but the approach they take with this makes it really stand out. Many people forget how difficult it is to effectively capture a zombie outbreak in an immersive manner. There's so much happening on the screen that the director has to capture in a convincing manner that isn't going to distract the viewer in any way. An unconvincing performance by an extra can be incredibly distracting, which is probably why a lot of films just play it safe by having all the zombies as CGI, which in itself can be incredibly bland if done poorly. Not only are all the zombies played by actors, but their performances are convincing. There's a nice balance of practical effects and CGI that leads to a fairly immersive experience. I would highly recommend it to those with an interest in action and zombie themed films. It's an incredibly enjoyable watch. This is a hard one to put into words. It's the 2013 film directed by Jonathan Glazer, Under the Skin, based on a novel by the same name. There's no specific genre it fits into, as everyone's going to interpret it differently. Some may classify it as science fiction, others may fit it into the field of horror. It's such an ambiguous film that it's really up to you to decide what to perceive it to be. Like most art house films, this isn't one you'll completely understand on first viewing. It can take a while to actually build a coherent understanding around what you perceive is going on, which understandably isn't for everyone. It doesn't feel the need to spoon feed the story to you with dialogue that specifically states what's going on. It rather expects you to build your own interpretation through the visuals you are presented with. I personally love those types of films and really wish that there was more like them out there. It's an original, thought-provoking experience that I find absolutely fascinating. It is a Scottish film, which means you might need to turn on the subtitles in order to understand some of the characters' accents. But even with the subtitles off, it strangely more effectively puts you into the perspective of the protagonist, who in the context of the narrative is also in the process of trying to understand these characters, but for a different reason. I'm purposely avoiding any kind of plot details because I believe it's one everyone needs to go into absolutely blind in order to get the best possible experience. Again, not for everyone, but for those who appreciate film not just as a form of entertainment, but also as an art form, it's an absolute must-watch. Easily in my top 100 favourite films of all time. I of course can't do a series discussing the best outside of Hollywood without mentioning the Studio Ghibli film, one of the greatest animation studios in the film industry. I haven't yet come across a single film by this studio that I consider to be bad. There's a few that don't really connect with me that strongly, but those few normally come down to personal taste rather than the actual quality of the film. I'm going to begin by recommending one of their most beloved films, Spirited Away, directed by Hayao Miyazaki, known for a wide range of incredible films that I will discuss in the future. The English translation was also directed by Kurt Wise, who is most known for his work in the animation adaptation of Beauty and the Beast, another incredible film. This is an incredibly easy one to jump into. The English translation is incredibly well done, so if you don't want to have to read the subtitles, that's actually a fairly good option that you'll be given if you buy the Blu-ray, which I would highly recommend. The hand-drawn animation has this really beautiful aesthetic that hasn't aged in the slightest. This fantasy universe they set up is incredibly fascinating and rich in detail. This, combined with some incredibly enjoyable characters, makes an irresistibly entertaining and joyful experience that just makes me really happy whenever I watch it. It's not a deep or complex film, and it doesn't need to be for what it's trying to achieve. It's just a blatantly enjoyable experience that I would highly recommend. That's all I have for this month. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel and like what you saw, maybe consider subscribing or following me on Twitter at the Golden Monk 1. It helps me keep you up to date with all that I'm working on.